tell you now, you wouldn't expect anything less. George Galloway has really divided opinion among you guys at home. One of the things that I do think it has kind of sparked, I would say, the speech that Rishi Sunak gave on Friday that we watched live on this channel, I think that was sparked in massive part due to George Galloway. There was a bit of it that really caught my eye. Listen, I want to remind you of it.
And when these groups tell our children that they cannot and will not succeed because of who they are, when they tell children that the system is rigged against them or that Britain is a racist country, this is not only a lie, but a cynical attempt to crush young dreams and turn impressionistic minds against their own society. I stand here as our country's first non-white Prime Minister, leading the most diverse government in our country's history, to tell people of all races, all faiths and all backgrounds, it is not the colour of your skin, the God you believe in, or where you were born that will determine your success, but just your own hard work and endeavour.
So, I mean, lots of his speech caught my eye, but that particular paragraph for me, Alex, I feel like for so long now in this country, we've allowed pretty much all minority groups, basically, to batter the majority of people in this country. And basically, there's not an institution that seems to have gone untouched that's not institutionally racist or institutionally misogynist or institutionally this or institutionally that. Most people have got white privilege and everyone's an awful human being. And I think finally, you've got someone actually talking up the country and saying that you can have, do and be anything that you want, as long as you're committed and you're going to persevere and all the rest of it. I just don't know why it's taken so long for Rishi Sunak to come out and talk like that.
Well, you say that about it taking the Prime Minister time. He was spurred by recent events we've been discussing for the show, but I think it's the first time any Prime Minister has talked about society like this, in quite these terms. But I think he speaks from a position of unchallengeable authority in terms of leading the most diverse governments in our history. That is a fact, and it's, in my view, a rather under-discussed one, perhaps precisely because it's a Conservative Party that forms that government. But I think the speech was about two different things. On the one hand, it was about people succeeding, whatever their backgrounds, and on the other hand, it was about extremism. And you might think those two things don't necessarily quite fit together comfortably in a speech. The part you've chosen to highlight is about people succeeding regardless of their backgrounds. And the thing about that, which the Prime Minister didn't quite say, but I have long felt, is that since time immemorial, in our best souls, we've tried to say to people, it doesn't matter, as in the word of Dr. King, it's not about the colour of your skin, it's about the content of your character. But then for the first time, this generation now being raised, being told that's not true. What the most important thing is the colour of your skin, is your background. You can never escape it. You will always be defined by your race. You will always be defined by your background. You will always have this guilt with you. You will always have this privilege or underprivilege with you, and you can never escape it. And I think it's very good that the Prime Minister and the government, by implication, are combating that.
What do you think, Judita?
I think, like I always say, when you get a message, question the messenger. At the end of the day, he's unelected, so he's speaking to an experience that he hasn't exactly earned. But then the other time, I go back to
What do you mean?
When he says that the position he now occupies, he wasn't elected into that position.
Yeah, but that's our system. That is our system that we have. If you've got a leadership election, they don't have to go back to a general election.
But who knows how he would turn out if it was really put to the people for them to vote him into the position. We'll find out when it comes to an election, where it really is down to the votes of the people to put him back. But the point I'm getting to is that I go back to during the COVID era, where they had the Black Lives Matter protests and they were interviewing an MP, and they asked him, he said, it's the most diverse government you had. And then the news broadcaster just said, are there any black people in the cabinet? And he wouldn't answer, he just kept, it's the most diverse, it's the most diverse. So you can't chop and change how you use that banner of definition, because at the end of the day, there is an experience that is had by the ethnic minority in Britain that is undeniable. We don't walk around saying that Britain is a racist country, no. We suffer racist experiences that have to be acknowledged. And why must we have to endure that? That is what the conversation we wish to have. It's not about branding the country. It's about saying, understand the nuances of different experiences experienced by the different peoples that occupy that country to make the country better.
But what would you...
Kemi Badenoch's black and she's in the cabinet. I don't...
Kemi Badenoch is okay, that's a different conversation we should have offline. But
You don't think she's black?
No, she is black, but Kemi Badenoch is a very specific kind of black person who rages against the black community and the perspectives in order to ingratiate herself into spaces that benefit her. A lot of people do that.
Isn't that a racist thing to say?
That is
Someone's not the right kind of black person.
No, it's not the right kind of black person. So that she occupies a certain kind of position that enables her to get certain benefits. She knows she's doing it, and she does it in the way she does it because it helps her stand out to the people that will benefit her on the path that she's chosen for herself. So it's something that happens all the time, whether it's in the Jewish community, in the black community, in the Asian community. It happens. It's something that, I want to use a terminology now, writers have written about it. We have terminology within our community for people who do that.
What's the terminology?
It's not very favourable, but we know what it is. But I'll tell you about it, but it's not favourable. I shouldn't use it on television. But the thing is that it's because it comes from something very elemental in human nature, as a survival instinct. People will make choices it's almost a crabs in the bucket mentality that they feel will benefit them even to the detriment of the collective.
Let's explore this then. Let's come back to it after the break. I'll see you in 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Jubes and Co. If you're just wondering what on earth's gone on in the House of Lords, long story short, the government got battered over the Rwanda bill. Doesn't really matter, though, because they'll probably overturn it when it comes back to them. But anyway, the optics are not good, and Rishi Sunak will probably be sweating a bit more tonight than he was perhaps this morning. It's not a good day for him. George Galloway continues to remain as a divisive character for all of you. But a lot of people are saying, actually, politics will finally become interesting in the UK, but interesting for the right reason or not? So that's what I'd ask you. Anyway, we're just having this conversation, this whole notion about extremism and division and all the rest of it. I played you a clip before the break of Rishi Sunak. He's saying that you've got all these groups that tell people that they won't succeed and we're a racist country and all that. So I was just applauding, basically, someone finally coming out and celebrating what's good in the country. Anyway, we just having this conversation. Judita, you were talking about diversity in the cabinet and why, your words, not mine, the black people that are in the cabinet are perhaps not the right kind of black people, which really stopped me in my tracks, really, because I thought that was quite a racist thing.
It's because it's not about if that's not the terminology and that's not the meaning I had. It's not that if you're a black person, you're a black person. It's the perspective, the choices, and the execution plan when it comes to occupying positions of power, because this is something that it goes back to, like I said, the elemental aspects of human nature and survival. When you're in an oppressed group or a disenfranchised group or a minority group, the desire to do something to break free of the rest will make you make choices that goes against that collective. And you see it as a singular choice, which is your right to have. But then you cannot dispute the reaction that the rest of the community has for you having made that choice.
Alex?
Well, I think his community is very proud of Rishi Sunak becoming Prime Minister. And he's a person of an ethnic minority, so is Suella Braidman. And if you want to talk specifically black, I mentioned Kemi Badenoch before the break, and you didn't say she was the wrong type of black person. You said she was a very specific type of black person. If I choose James Cleverly, of course, another black person in the cabinet, perhaps the most interesting example, because the career has come to fruition, is Kwasi Kwarteng, who became our first black chancellor, not very, very long. But, of course, he rose in the Conservative Party on perceived merit, and he fell very quickly on perceived merit, or however people would judge that performance. And there is somebody whose political career rose and fell within the party to which I belong, based on what the perceptions of his merit were. And I would say that's a good thing in British society. But my point is, if you can, of course, say that the Prime Minister and Suella Braidman are not specifically black, but Kemi Badenoch is, James Cleverly is, the former Chancellor is. I mean, you start picking up these examples of people serving as minorities, and the Prime Minister's point about the diversity of the Cabinet is right, isn't it?
No, but then I'm actually really glad that you made that comparison about Rishi Sunak and his community is proud of him. All you need to do is just scratch the surface and investigate what the general black community feels about Kwasi Kwarteng and Kemi Badenoch, and there you will see where the cracks lie that I have described. Because, like I said, the Asian experience is not the same as the black experience.
No,
the black experience is not the same as the Far Eastern experience. That is why we feel that tarring us with the same brush and saying that we're calling the country racist, we should be grateful or go back, that's what creates a problem. Because if you listen to the nuances of conversation, when black people talk about institutional racism and Black Lives Matter, we're saying that identify that we have to endure certain lived experiences, that if only you would engage with us in a form of understanding, it could be recalibrated and be different for us.
And you have a life experience that I don't have in this country. But interestingly, I don't think you're suggesting that I fail to recognise those things. I think you're saying that the black people we're discussing in government fail to recognise that.
And so basically telling us as a collective that, well, we've elected a black person, you should be grateful, isn't the remedy.
Blimey. What do you make to all of that? I'm sure some strong opinions will be had at home. Get in touch and let me know. Don't forget Nigel Farage. He is after the break at 7 o'clock tonight. He wants to talk all things Ofcom. You know, when I was on air on Friday, a campaign group was emailing many of my viewers who were on their database, telling them that they should come together, get in touch with Ofcom and petition to close us down. I don't mean to be rude, but I certainly think that some people need to get a life. Goodness me. Anyway, Alex, Deane, thank you very much for your company. Judita Dasilva, thank you for yours. As always, thank you for all of your company at home.